How's it going? This is Jermaine Forder, and you listen to Seriously Loco.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy fan podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC, brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC. This week, I'm your host, Phil Bakke, as always, but this week I'm joined by a familiar crew, Mikka Burrell. Mikka, welcome.
Thank you.
And Austin Young is back. What's up, man?
How's it going? It's weird to be back in, back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, quick succession for you, but no, we're getting in the rhythm, just like the squad, trying to hit that season form as we head towards the first match of the season. Guys, it is match week, and we are just a couple of days away from the opener against Orange County. So plenty to talk about this week across USL, really. But obviously, we're going to be laser focused on Locomotive finalizing their roster this week, and then just as the squad is focused on Orange County on Friday. But in the meantime, we had a little bit of news earlier this week. Las Vegas Lights have made a name for themselves the past couple of years in USL for being that team that will that will do the random gimmick, the random we were there on cash drop night. Not we weren't, but the squad was. We beat them on cash drop night, and this season they've got something for every match, every home match this season. Las Vegas Lights are going to be rocking 17 different kits, all produced by the lovely folks over at BLK. I mean, what do you guys make of this idea overall? Before we get into the kits they actually released, what do you guys make of this 17 kit season?
It seems a little impractical. Is it so it's a new kit every home game?
I think that's the idea. Basically they have,
or is it like a new kit every home and every away?
Well, I would think because if it's 17, then that's half your schedule.
I think it's
right.
I think they're basically the away games are going to be played in those same or versions of those same kits.
Gotcha.
But the home games is when they're going to actually release, because it'll be 17 across the whole season.
Well,
is there a reason for this celebration, or they're just being Vegas?
Yeah, it's Vegas.
Vegas gonna Vegas.
Vegas being Vegas. I mean, it's llamas, it's kiddie pools on the sidelines, and now it's 17 unique kits in a season.
And games at midnight. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, yeah, we didn't even talk about that. But I mean, so. Yeah, impractical, certainly, but I don't know. Is it unique, or is it just does this cross the line of gimmicky for you guys?
So for me, from a marketing standpoint, it's a great idea. From a merchandise standpoint, it's probably a nightmare.
Yeah,
because people are gonna like some more than others. They're gonna be overstocked on one or another.
Right.
But at the same time, there's something you expect when you watch minor league baseball. So, I mean, we're in a lower division in the U.S., so that's something you might expect as well. I don't know. I mean, it's something I really haven't seen before, but that's what's going through my mind concerning that.
Yeah, that's a decent thought because we see it with the Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
They rock
margarita jerseys.
They had Game of Thrones night and wore fur covered, not fur covered, but they looked like furs and leather straps and shit.
And they had that chair made out of the bats and stuff.
Yeah.
Phil sat on that chair.
I did. That was actually pretty awesome. But no, so 17 original kits this season. I'm concerned, Mikka. We spoke right before we started recording, but I mean, I don't mind BLK in terms of the design work that they've done for Locomotive over the past couple of seasons. They produced a couple of really, really nice designs.
Yeah.
Order fulfillment, though, is not one of their strong suits, and they're still kind of building that infrastructure, it seems like, in North America.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I said this seems impractical, because I think BLK is Australian.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're known kind of for their supply chain issues. So I'm interested to see how they intend to, I guess, I don't know, maybe they've pre-stocked Las Vegas. I have no clue, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have to talk about these designs though, because these are cray.
By all means, I mean the first 2 kits got rolled out, so it's really the same kit, but a white and a black version.
Yeah, the white one, so because I've been staring at this for a while trying to figure out what it reminds me of. It reminds me of when you install a new color ink cartridge and you print out the test sheet. Like, these are literally the colors, the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow. Like, that's what this kit is. It finally came to me what this is, but it's just crazy. The home opener one is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Dang, we hit it with the printer test page.
Look, all I got to say with that home opener, we got somebody up north trying to be discount Dortmund with their new kits, and then we got Vegas over here trying to be discount Man U with those kits. I mean,
I don't know. I couldn't help but. It's just so it's based on confetti, and then it's got like a supporters group, I guess.
Right, like at the bottom,
right around the base.
Which, by the way, I think I was telling you guys this right now. There was a tweet I saw today, and for the love of God, I can't find it. Somebody literally said it looks like somebody fed a unicorn Chico's tacos and just let it shit on the shirt.
Oh man.
It is, it's the funfetti. I don't really know what they were. I know that it's like a supporters kind of focus thing, but to me, it's just it's a yikes on the swagometer or whatever.
I prefer the evil Croatia that San Antonio dropped.
That
one was actually clean though.
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
I do think it's funny that they're either evil Croatia or evil Barcelona, but
right.
With the red and black, like giving off like strong Sith vibes. As well as checkerboard, but no, that's definitely clean. The Vegas design, on the other hand, not so great. So obviously, look forward to going back to Vegas this year and hopefully giving old Wijnaldum a little more heartburn over more than just the marketing gimmicks. But we got a lot going on this week, and before we get into all of the stuff that we need to talk about, it is I'm going to go ahead and just plug all of the stuff that's going on. So obviously we got we're recording this on Wednesday night, and just last week, or this past weekend, we dropped scarf design, and we've got scarves for sale, Seriously Loco scarves. The pictures you can find on our Twitter and Instagram, and you can find the link at all of those places and on Facebook to get the order form, fill it out. It's just a Google form, and those will be available until this first run sells out, and then if the demand is high enough, we'll get more. But for now, it is just a limited run, so make sure that you get your orders in for that. We'll have the ability to ship. It's an extra $5 if you need us to ship it. So if you're out of town, we can absolutely do that. But if you're in town, we can do meetups. We can find you guys, deliver them, and then they'll also be available in person. You can pick them up on Friday at the live watch along that we'll be doing at the watch party with Eighth Notch at Whiskey Blonde this coming Friday. So more to come on that.
Just one quick note on the scarves, just because I got a message on it. Guys, it's one scarf.
Yeah.
It's not two different ones with two different color schemes.
Yeah, that's what I think I blew somebody's mind on Twitter because they were like, oh, I like the yellow one. I was like, you get both because it's one. It is one side. It's just both sides of the scarf when you see it in the pictures. So shout out to Mikka because she pretty much did the design work, and then Roughneck, our sponsor, fulfilled that one. So
indeed,
and they came through with a solid design, and I think it looks pretty slick. So get your orders in while they last. Then tomorrow evening It's going to be live on like Periscope and stuff, I guess, on Twitter. But there's going to be a Copa Tejas podcast, and it's going to combine all of the podcasts of the Copa Tejas teams. So I'm going to represent Seriously Loco, but the Three Birds Boldcast from Austin is going to be on there. San Antonio or SATX Soccer is going to be on there, as well as Down in the Valley podcast. The RGV podcast are all going to be on there, along with the folks from Copa Tejas, just to talk about the upcoming season. And I'll have to probably avoid a little bit of a roasting on there for the fact that we finished last in the Copa Tejas standings, but luckily we finished above all of them in the actual standings. So and I'm looking forward to a better Copa Tejas season this year. And then on Friday during the match, there is going to be a live watch along. As I said, I think I plugged it on the last episode too. We're going to be on Sportscaster this season. So sportscaster.com, it's just no E in caster. So Sportscaster in the kind of modern internet style. But it's just a live streaming service. It's a little bit more user friendly than YouTube, and just kind of simplifies the whole process for you, the watcher, and for us, the broadcaster. So they're going to start doing some integration with USL as well this year, and the Beautiful Game Network, who we're obviously a part of, is going to be doing some integration as well. So we're going to have a little bit more of an official presence on there than other leagues and stuff like that. But you guys can watch along for alternate commentary, just as you did last season, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you some awesome moments like the couple at the end of last season, especially the Sac Republic game. But obviously a big week, and it's a huge week for Locomotive as we're back to business. No more off-season speculation. No more rumors. No more like ridiculousness. It is the lineup is now locked in. The roster is complete. Dylan Mahrez confirmed on Monday, signing for Locomotive. We spoke about his merits as a player, but now that we've kind of taken in this move in the context of what it means for the roster, how do you guys feel with the 21 players that Locomotive have signed up at the moment?
I feel really good about our squad going into this season. I think it's definitely more fleshed out than it was this time last year, of course, naturally. I'm really happy that we've been able to maintain a lot of familiar faces, just because, with the tactical kind of setup that we use, it really helps us out that we have a lot of continuity in key areas of the pitch. I mean, I know we lost Kieswetter, we lost Velasquez, but I think still other parts of the team have been pretty stable. So I'm really happy with all the business that we've done, and the new faces too. Of course, we've seen some of it in preseason. They look very promising indeed. I mean, if you haven't seen Dylan Mahrez' banger yet against, was it Phoenix?
Yeah.
Against Phoenix. Go check that out now. I think they tweeted it today.
Yeah.
The club tweeted it today, now that he's announced, and he looks like quite the player. So yeah, I'm happy with all the business that we've done, and it's nice to not speculate anymore and just, start thinking about football.
Yeah. I mean, Austin, like who's the player that stands out to you as kind of exciting you of the guys we've added this summer? Who's that guy who to you is going to be the one that you look to, especially maybe in this first match?
I think the one player that I think is going to be on a lot of people's mind to see, not only just because of what he's done in the past and some of the highlights we saw when Locomotive signed him, but just based off what you guys have said you've seen in him in the preseason, is Distel. He looks like he can really be a monster in this league, and I remember when they announced him, that highlight came out against Tottenham, like 7 years ago now, scoring that banger. But still, yeah, I mean, him and Dylan Mahrez, definitely. Dylan Mahrez, I was kind of excited about when I saw his stats to see what he's done, but then again, he was playing at a lower level. But once the club tweeted out, as Mikka quoted, that banger against Phoenix, definitely, gets that hype up for him. So, I mean, those two guys really, it's going to be exciting, and I mean, especially Distel being the second half of the French connection.
Distel I think carries that little bit of weight, especially coming from, similar to Fabrice, like coming from a big European academy. It's tough to kind of overlook those guys' importance in the season because they are quality players. The two guys who kind of more USL veteran signings in a way, but Saeed Robinson and Marius Lomas coming in. We've obviously talked about them a little bit in the past, but how does that make you feel kind of comfortable with where we're at in attacking depth? Because as I kind of look at our spreadsheet, we basically got like 6 attackers, maybe 7 if you kind of stretch and put Nick Ross in that category. But we've got kind of this attacking unit of 6 players to choose from. Is that a decent like place to sit with in terms of our kind of our forward line?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation probably. This is a really talented bunch, so people are going to be fighting for every minute that they get out on the pitch for Mark Lowry. Saeed, I think, is a really underrated signing just because of all the creativity that we had on that left flank last season. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really important that we get somebody in on that side, with the departure of James Kiffey.
Right.
Saeed, he's 29 years old. He's played in this league. Definitely an underrated one and one that I think that can contribute. It's just about hoping that he gels with his teammates quickly. I will say it concerns me a little bit that we don't have more obvious wide choices, wingers or wide midfielders. Mm-hmm. I mean, the natural choices to me look like Saeed Robinson and Omar Salgado, of course. I suppose some of our center forwards could maybe play in that area, but yeah, if there's anywhere where I think we might be maybe one player short, it might be in those wide positions. But who knows? Maybe the tactical setup is gonna make up for that. So,
and that was I was gonna ask that next. Is just, does that maybe speak to the fact that it seems like Mark will likely not set up in that way, where maybe he is going to play with 2 up front and a 10 mm-hmm. rather than and ask the fullbacks to provide the width rather than in attack, at least, rather than playing pure wingers.
That's what it seems like it's going to be, and that's kind of how when I watched the team play against New Mexico United, there was very much an effort for a concerted effort by the fullbacks to get forward and provide that service. Yeah. Now, obviously, when you have your fullbacks bombing on like that, there's going to have to be defensive midfielders that are, going to take up those positions and, make sure we don't leave those spaces. So I'm thinking that must be the idea. And maybe it'll be where we don't really need, byline wingers, if you will, like the wingers that'll just get into the byline and cross it. So that'll probably be the fullback's job. But yeah, hopefully there's no issue with depth in that area.
There's been some talk about the 21 number and 21 being a little bit on the lighter side in terms of the roster, because obviously when you look across world football, there's primarily 25 is kind of the standard for a complete squad. But Mark has said that he doesn't want to fill out the roster with a bunch of guys who are just there to make up the numbers. I mean, is 21, does that number concern you at all in terms of the injury issues we had last year, or is it just one of those things where we filled in the team with more quality players rather than just a higher quantity of guys who might not be able to contribute?
No, yeah, I mean, when you just when you think back to last season, I mean, that's always gonna run through my mind, and I'm sure it's gonna run through a lot of fans' mind. Like, hey, we went through this rough stretch of we had so many guys out. Are we gonna run with 21? But the thing that puts me at ease is what Mark has been able to do, and has done in the past as well, is he always likes to sign players mid-season, likes to bring them on. So, I mean, if we get to a point where Mark finds somebody that he might like, he's going to go in and sign them. So maybe he's leaving that space to go ahead and leave space for new signings in the future in a couple weeks, couple months if we need anybody. On top of that, definitely, I mean, not any slight to last year's squad, but just based off what we've seen, definitely the quality looks a lot better this season than it did last season. I mean, at this point, you can't really say anything about last season's squad, their form towards the end of last season, but the quality right now compared to the squad where we were last season, the beginning looks a lot better, and just being a lot more familiar with these guys has definitely helped with that.
The one of the interesting things that's obviously happened in the preseason, and it's one of those difficult things that USL has to do, where they look across the league and they have to find the players to highlight. They have to find the teams to highlight. Do you think that the way that Mark has built, and particularly on the attacking side, as we spoke about, like by all indicators, this is a very solid unit and has a lot of potential in terms of being a dangerous, goal scoring unit. But still, and I know it's a power rankings article, so it literally means nothing. But the little blurb said, like they went to the Western Conference Finals, but without Kiesewetter and Velasquez, where are the goals going to come from?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Do you think that it's just the way that we've built this, that Mark has built this unit, where it's a couple of USL veterans who have kind of been up and down or whatever? Aron Gomez, who obviously had a very big season towards the end of last year and in the playoffs. Alexi Bassetti coming off kind of a down year for him, and then Omar not really hitting the heights that some people kind of identified for him. Do you think is it just the fact that we haven't gone for these kind of and Dylan Mares coming in from Miami FC and not being in USL for a couple of years? Do you think that does this unit a disservice? Just because the league, a lot of them are kind of unknown quantities, where it's we don't know if they'll score, but to us they certainly seem capable of being a lethal unit. So the whole idea of where the goal's going to come from, it seems a little bit strange to me, anyways.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I think that it's easy for someone who's just looking at our stats and not having watched Locomotive the way that we do, which is fair enough, and just seeing that the goals were heavily coming from, the same people last season, and some of those players are gone. And everyone knows that Locomotive pretty much are a team that aren't going to score. We're not going to hang 5 on a side every week, a la Phoenix or someone like that. So... yeah, I think I don't want to call it lazy, because it's not lazy, because these arguments are based in fact, but maybe it's just not giving that credit to some of these new guys that we've brought in. Now, one thing that I find really interesting about this core of forwards is that they are, on average, the youngest part of our squad.
Yeah.
And so, because I think our average age at the back is about 28, and then in the middle it goes down to... I think it's about 28 as well. Our forwards are averaging 25 years of age.
Right.
So I think that...
what's our midfield averaging?
28. We're old. We're actually kind of an old squad on average.
I was about to say, because Yuma
Richie and Yuma drive.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and then
Richie.
Choppa is what brings it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our average age of our forwards is 25, so I think that Mark definitely... went out. He started doing this last season, planning for this season, but, went out into the transfer market and wants, those young, energetic people up front that can do a job. He said it from the beginning. He's going to find someone that is a proven goal scorer. He's done that. He has a few of them, Gomez, Bassetti, Lomis. So, I think maybe some of the league outsiders who don't know kind of what Locomotive is about are just seeing stats from last year and kind of drawing conclusions from that.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, I think it's just a lot of drawn to what happened last season. Us as fans and us as quote-unquote analysts of the game, it's when Kiesewetter got hurt and he went on that dry spell, we were all wondering, well, where the fuck are these goals going to be coming from?
Right.
Until, Seba and Aron got into their little groove and started scoring, and the rest of the squad got in. But we went through a good month and a half, wondering, well, where the hell are the goals? Who's going to score them?
Yeah.
Kiesewetter couldn't put the ball in the net. Omar couldn't get it going. So the phrase used a lot in sports, the eye test. Mm-hmm. It looks like we have no goal scorers on the squad anymore. But Mikka's right. Mark's been doing this since last season, finding these players, and they've proven in preseason that they can score. And I'd understand if people are saying, oh, they're scoring in training, but this is against different competition, against different players they probably have never seen. So you can try to shrug it off that it's, friendlies before the season starts, but it brings merit to score against guys who are in the same league as you.
Yeah.
So, it's the goals are going to come this season. You guys can come back at me in 36 weeks and tell me if I was right or wrong. But I think we're going to see a different amount of goals scored this season from this team.
And that's what it's been refreshing too in preseason, and obviously, as you said, it is just preseason, but it's been refreshing too to see the mix of goal scorers in preseason, because it has been divided fairly evenly. Mara's, I think, led all goal scorers with 4 in preseason. I kind of, although maybe 3, because the Texas United game feels like a little bit of a wash. Although someone just played Texas United, I think Austin Bold, and they beat them 3-0, 4-0. So we hung 7 on them. So
levels.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I think the games against OKC and Phoenix kind of speak more to a player's quality, obviously, again, not just against teams that are in our league, but closer to the season where players are going to be playing more. They're going to play more of their first 11 instead of just, trying to get guys fitness or whatever. At that point, you're trying to kind of lock your tactics in and really get ready for the season. So, but yeah, I think it's an interesting point just because I think we saw, I think we spoke about it last time, just Gomez's goal scoring return extrapolated out over a whole season is golden boot, run away with the golden boot type stuff. So I'm hopeful that we get to see these players in peak form and not just, not have those same injury problems of
we're all knocking on wood.
Yeah. But the opponent has a vote, and this weekend it's Orange County SC. So we get our first match preview of the season.
The Seriously Loco match preview.
Guys, it is the first match of the season. It is Orange County away, and on its face, this is a tough game.
Yeah. Where do we start with this? Do we want to start with last season's kind of results against them?
Yeah, so, Orange County overall, they finished 5th, a place and 4 points above us, 54 points. But they get eliminated from the playoffs as well by Real Monarchs. But in the first round and by a pretty hefty scoreline, 6-2. Our return against OC not as good last year, head to head.
Yeah, well, our first win in club history was against them, though, right? So,
50-50, I guess.
Yeah. Well, both games were copies of each other, just one result going one way and one the other. So match day 4, that was the first, win in our club history. We hung 2 on them. Yeah. Won 2-0 with a brace from Edson Partida. That was a very, very fun game to be in attendance for.
Around the world.
Yes, that was the, that's what started everyone on Facebook being like, why isn't he starting?
Yeah.
We dominated that game. I revisited the stats. We dominated possession in that game, had way more chances than they did, more shots on target, 5 shots on target to their none. it was at that point in the season that we did not have a recognized goal scorer, you could argue.
Right.
Because this is pre-Velasquez, this is pre-Kiesewetter.
Omar was supposed to be the guy.
He was still
Yes.
playing as a 9, I think, at that point.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, very different approach at that point.
Yeah, so, it's hard to draw conclusions from that just because of how much the team evolved after that point. But then, of course, match day 28 is a completely different story. We go away to Orange County, and they, beat us 2-0. That was one of those games where I think that was one of the few games of the season last year where we had less possession than the opponent.
Yeah.
Was that during like our losing streak?
Yeah,
Had to
it
have
was.
been. It was in September. I think
So that's when we were like.
Yeah.
It was a game where I legit thought at the end of it, like, I think that might be the end of our playoff hopes. And then obviously from there things went our way. But yeah, in that one, Michael Seaton grabbed the opener where he outjumped everybody to the point where Logan didn't think that he could possibly jump that high to head the ball in. And no one really contested it because he just got up like above the crossbar practically to head it in.
Right.
And then Darwin Jones scored the second. It was the deadly combination last year for OC, Seaton and Jones. But one thing as we talk about kind of their roster, we've got the outs, the key players that are sticking around, and then the additions at the end. But the outs, one player headed out, Jerry Van Uwyk, headed to the Korean third tier. So a few goals, few assists. Also known as Jerry Van Wolfgang. He's got like two names.
What?
Yeah, I remember looking up last season why it was, and I'm sure an OC fan could certainly fill us in. But the one player that will certainly not be sad to see the back of, Michael Seaton, heads to Germany and is playing for Viktoria Köln in the German third league, and he had 12 goals, 5 assists for OC last season. So big departure in terms of production for them. Michael Seaton headed out, and a player who also grabbed a goal against us.
Yeah, that is a big departure because Michael Seaton is quite young. He's only like 23, 24. And, I mean, congratulations to him making the jump to Europe, but Orange County, you're certainly going to miss him. But a lot of people around the league, and I'm inclined to agree, think that Orange County, despite the outgoings, had probably the best offseason in the West, if not in USL, because they did quite a bit of business, retained a couple players as well. And so, I mean, I still think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I guess we could kind of talk about who's come in, because there's been a lot.
Well, and that's what Michael Seaton almost immediately replaced with Thomas Ennie Voltsen,
Of course.
He won the Golden Boot when he was with Orange County 2 seasons ago. Moves to Indy, doesn't have the best of luck, although he still had 5 goals in half a season for Indy. Not a terrible return, but I guess for him it wasn't great. Goes to Sac Republic midway through the season, scores 8 goals for them, and a goal in the play-in round to take them.
That's right, that was him.
He scored a Van Persie-esque volley over the shoulder against New Mexico. So, I mean, Ennie Voltsen moving in to a team that already has Darwin Jones, who obviously was kind of the link up with Michael Seaton last year. They had identical goal and assist numbers, which I found fascinating. They both had 12 goals, both had 5 assists. And then Aiden Quinn, kind of that creative force behind him, as well as a goal-scoring midfielder. Adding Ennie Voltsen back into that equation, that has to make OC one of the more dangerous teams attacking terms in the West.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfair. I mean, like you said, 20 goals, and he also had 10 assists that season, so that's 30 goal involvements in 34 games. Yeah. And somehow, I think he was Golden Boot runner-up.
Yeah.
So someone bested that, which is insane.
Yeah.
Had a very successful spell with OC last time. He knows the club, so I don't think I don't anticipate that he'll have some of the same issues adjusting as I suppose he did at Indy 11. But I mean, even with that, I think what's really fascinating too, and hopefully I'm not jumping the gun. Maybe you have this here in our notes here, but Orange County, they partner with Rangers, which I thought was awesome, and have brought through some of their players as well, and they're actually using their partnership for more than just like idea sharing and money and so
I mean, how does it? So 3 players join from Rangers, 3 19-year-olds who are playing in Rangers youth system. Cami Palmer, Daniel Finlayson, and Matthew Shields. 2 of these guys, Cami Palmer was playing in the Scottish second division for Partick Thistle last season and actually made 13 appearances, got a goal and 2 assists in the Scottish championship. Finlayson is a 19-year-old right back who scored 2 UEFA Youth League goals against young boys. Unfortunately, for Rangers, they ran up against the buzzsaw that is Atletico Madrid's youth side and just got absolutely trounced in his last game for Rangers before he joined OC on loan. But Shields as well spent time on loan in the Scottish League One. So these guys have played like for senior teams, and despite the fact that they're 19, they're coming into a side of where they may have more senior experience than like the 22, 23-year-olds who are joining out of college. So interesting partnership. I mean, do you think this is something that more clubs will look to in the future to kind of not to be the feeder team necessarily, but be a place for European teams to send people to gain more match experience, especially with the offset season where we kind of start towards the end of their season?
It's not a bad idea. I mean, at least for the league itself, I think it's a lot better than getting involved with MLS clubs, because with people, with players that are coming over from Europe, like you said, these 19-year-old kids are going to have a lot more experience than these kids coming out of college just because they've probably been on the senior team. They've been growing up playing with that squad. So I think it's a better idea. Just like same thing with the season, it's kind of towards the end of their season. They feel like they haven't got enough minutes, they'll come over here. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Mount starts looking at something like that as well.
Do it, cowards. No, I mean, but for these players too, with this example coming from Rangers is a big club.
Yeah.
And 3 19-year-old Scottish lads coming over to Orange County, California, I mean, that's not the worst place in the world to ply your trade when you're probably not going to, crack the Rangers first team anytime soon. So it's good for them too, and maybe they can kind of, bring over some of the kind of tactical and training ideas that they've kind of had instilled in them, playing for a big European club like that and being involved in a European club's academy. So I like to see that these clubs in USL who have these European partners are actually using these partnerships in terms of actually bringing players over. I think Hartford have a partnership with Southampton. Have they done anything similar? And I know Rowdy's with Norwich, maybe.
Yeah, Rowdy's with Norwich.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've done as much as what OC has done. I think it's really impressive that OC has actually brought over some players. And
I think Rowdy's signed one Norwich player. I think Hartford just took that coach from Southampton like as their manager, and now that they're calling it good. Maybe that was the whole reason for the partnership.
And that's it.
Just snag this manager real quick. How obviously, like in the game at home against OC, they didn't really pose the threat that they did on the road. But even then, kind of a even game. It was just a matter of like one team taking their chances versus us not, which was kind of a common story at times last season where we didn't really take our opportunities. How much more dangerous now is OC? Like, are we putting them in like the top tier? Do you think like the West is going to be well, one, we know the West is going to be kind of the Wild West again. Like, there's going to be a lot of attacking teams, a lot of, like, probably a lot of high-scoring games. Like, they call it the simulation on, like, USL, like, Reddit, because it's just so unpredictable. But, I mean, with a team that's built like this, you have to think OC is going to be competitive, like, up towards the top of the West this year.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they have that attack coming back in, and there's nothing showing, like, with what they've lost is that they've lost any quality or that they lost any goals. I don't see them taking a huge drop, and I mean, outside of, like, Tacoma and Portland, there's really not any teams that I could see that are gonna just fall straight to the bottom of the table. So
Colorado.
Oh yeah. Colorado.
No, OC seemed like such a well-run club, both with, like, their marketing and the commercial side of things, but also just on the pitch. I mean, we haven't even talked about Sean O'Coley,
Right.
who was also a Golden Boot winner with Cincinnati, I believe, and was 2016 league MVP.
Yep.
I mean, the goals seem to have dried up in recent seasons, but still, I mean, it's worth taking a punt on a guy who has proven that he can score in this league and lead the scoring charts. So they've just made so many additions that are threatening, and that I think they're really serious about doing something. I think the 6-2 trouncing by Real Monarchs must have really played heavy on their minds when they were doing their business, and I think they're going to be one of the teams to watch this season. And of course, we got to go up against them on the road on match day 1. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
That's got to be, like, the best way to start the season, though. Like, if you can't play Phoenix, at least play somebody up to that caliber for the first game.
That's what I was going to ask. So last season, obviously, first game of the season was a home opener against a team who I think we all kind of sat here and said OKC is going to be one of the better teams in the league, and they were awful.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's going to happen, because I really do think the way that they've built this roster with Orange County is great. But starting at home in your inaugural season versus now a second season, we start on the road. Do you think it does benefit the players to not just immediately be thrust back into the, like, kind of home, almost anticipation of a win, like, where it's like, hey, get off to a good start, plus, like, ownership is upstairs, like, gosh, I hope they win so that we keep selling out, like, because we know El Paso's kind of that way, where when they were winning, it was packed, and like, so how big is it that they get to kind of start on the road and get a game under their belt before they're coming back and kind of have that expectation?
I mean, I think you bring up a good point that starting on the road, especially with all these new guys, is going to really be big relief, not being pressured to have to come out and please the home crowd. If anything, they're going to want to shut them up. So so I think that's a huge mark. I mean, especially when you got so many new guys coming in. For players that were here last season, I don't think that makes much of a difference. But I think at least that way you can focus on the opener of the season. Like Mark likes to say, he wants to treat all these away games as business trips and kind of get into that mindset already, instead of just kind of being at home. Wake up Saturday morning, do your routine, go to the stadium and all that. Instead, your focus is on the match the entire weekend.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I mean, it's you do. I think I would imagine when you're a player and you're getting ready for a home game, especially a home opener, there is a sense of occasion that you're not going to have when you're on the road, and you might start playing the occasion and not the match.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's certainly what happened against Oklahoma, right? So, plus the fact that we're brand new to the league, but
12 seconds.
But yeah, I think that. Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good ultimately if we can, go on the road and get a result, and then come home and try to build that momentum. So
the question, and I think we know Mark's philosophy, but the idea that a point on the road, especially now, early in the season, is a good result. And I think we kind of need to ingrain that, because if you're winning at home and drawing away, then you're the Invincibles and you're and you're running away with the league. But the problem with that mentality is when it did fall apart for us, that it got to a point in the season where drawing on the road wasn't enough, and we needed 3 points every single game. I mean, how big is it to not let these games become get to that, not let it get to that point of desperately needing points at the end of the season? Is a draw the target? Should a draw be the target? Not saying that they're not going to try to win, obviously, because the team is going to try to win. But if it's 1-1 in the 89th, are we content, and should fans be content with a point on the road?
I think I was actually going to bring that up. As fans, obviously, you're going to want the win, and we came off of last season towards the end of the year, like you said. We had to win every single match to get into the playoffs, to skip that playing game. So I think fans are going to have to get out of that mentality again. It's the beginning of the season, first match. Like Mark said, a tie is just as good as a win on the road. So don't be surprised, like you said, come 80th, 85th minute, it's 1-1, and Mark's just playing for the tie because it's still a point. So I think fans are going to have to get out of that mentality that we had at the end of last season, where it was a must-win every game. So I think if we come away with the point on this match, it's not a big deal. I'd consider it a win, even if at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many new faces in the squad that I'd be surprised. I mean, I don't know, because in preseason they did look very well drilled and all that kind of thing. But I think when you get into a competitive atmosphere, I'd be surprised if it looks as fluent as it will mid-season,
right? With
just some of the new guys coming in and still getting to know, their teammates and kind of the moves that each other want to make. So, and every time I thought that Mark wouldn't start somebody new, they're absolutely starting that match. So I'm expecting to see a lot of the newer players start this match, and that has its own pitfalls. So if we get a draw, I don't think it's the end of the world, and but no matter what we say, there's going to be reactionary shit all over the internet. So.
And we'll be able to talk about that next week, I guess. But the as you said, I think we learned last year that Mark is certainly that guy who is more than willing to throw people into a match if he thinks that they're capable of handling it. We saw it with Chapa a couple times last season where we're like, he's like. It'll always stick out to me the match immediately following the Madison match, where Chapa had to start because of Nick Ross got hurt, and Chapa was coming off easily his worst performance, and his first start was that Madison game, and he played horrible. And I think he'd probably be one of the first to tell you that he did not have a good game, but. The very next game, he played out of his mind, played one of his absolute best games of the season, and was vital in midfield. So I think Mark shows that if he thinks somebody is able to handle it, he's more than willing to throw them into that occasion. So, but with that, I think we can go into our predictions for the starting 11. So I think how I want to do this is we're going to go round the horn, if you will. And so we'll just go by position. We'll say who quick fire, who we want in that position. And we'll start at the back.
Are you giving us a formation?
I think, well, okay, let's agree on a formation first. What do we think Mark is going to play?
4-2-3-1.
4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you think?
I think it might be a diamond. But
it probably was a diamond, yeah.
I think it might be a diamond. But we can...
Let's do both. Fuck it.
All right.
Porque no los dos.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we're playing a 4-2-3-1. We'll start with that.
Okay.
We'll start at the back. It makes it super easy to start. So, goalkeeper.
Logan.
Ketter.
Yeah, Logan, obviously. No disrespect to Jermaine, but Logan's the number one. Right back.
Rebellion.
Center back. Oh, well, are we going all same position?
Yeah, we're going around the horn, just to make sure.
Yeah, there we go on the way back.
Yep. And then, okay, so center back.
Mishak, Jerome.
Yep.
Yeah, Misha.
Okay. And then, I think Mishak starts, and then next to him,
Chiro and Toko. He's
Yeah.
very loco.
he is very loco. I think now center back is much more settled. In terms of like anyone getting into that spot is having to work their absolute socks off to get it off either of those dudes. Left back,
Foxy.
yeah.
Foxy.
I think it just matters about his fitness, but it seems like he's back because that was the only concern in preseason is Fox healthy?
Yeah, he had been training, so hopefully.
Yeah, and it seems like he's been playing, and I think he played in the preseason games based on because I'm pretty sure he was in the Mahrez goal video. I'm pretty sure he's the guy out left of him, like on the overlap, basically as Mahrez goes into the box. So I'm pretty sure Foxy's been playing. All right, so 4-2-3-1. So we got our two holding mids, or two central midfielders. Who's first?
Zola.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Yuma.
Okay. Yeah, I think if we're talking like first name on the team sheet, it's probably Richie. But
okay.
But I think the combo, if we're playing a two, I love the mix of Distel and Richie.
Yeah. That's what I have. Yeah.
It's ice and fire, if you will. Like
Yes.
it's the guy who can carry the ball forward, matched with the dude who's gonna be patient in possession and link. Yeah, Regista, link. Richista.
The Regista. Oh God.
He'd be so embarrassed to hear that. Anyways, okay, so we've got Distel, we've got Yuma. So second central
Richie.
So Richie.
Yeah, Richie.
Okay, so a little bit more defensive, and that is totally a thing that Mark did last year.
Yeah.
Is play Yuma and Richie as like two holding midfielders, like defensive midfielders.
I'm just thinking about the opponent who we're playing.
And that could totally be the vibe.
Fair.
I personally prefer but it's very much like a confirmation bias type thing of like I like to see two different type of midfielders, but he went with that last season and it worked like more than a few times.
But even that, I mean, if he plays Distel and if Bassetti plays right on top of him, it's gonna be killer.
So we're in the 4-2-3-1. So let's go. Who's out on the left of that attacking three?
I said Nick Ross.
Really?
He did play out there a little bit, quite a few times actually.
Yeah.
Kind of drifting into the channels. Not your traditional winger by any stretch of the imagination, but
Right,
almost
like
like
half space.
Yeah, almost like a defensive winger in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Offering some cover to Kiffy because obviously Kiffy was getting forward a lot. So maybe trust Foxy a little bit more to
come back. Not leave that big gap.
Yeah. But who's out on the left for you of that 4-2-3-1?
I can't believe I'm asking this, but is Omar right or left-footed?
He's left-footed.
He's left-footed.
So he can play either side. I prefer him when he's on the right because he can shoot. But I mean, that didn't always work last season either, so.
The only reason I'm considering Omar on the left side is the same thing as Fox is going to be playing on that side. Mm-hmm. Just because I have a little more trust in Rebellon on the right side. Last season, he did a lot of traveling up and down the pitch.
Yeah.
Foxy, we saw more center back, so we didn't see him on that left side, so.
I think we'll always see a lot of work rate from our wingers, like if we're playing wingers or forwards in general, because we always saw, especially at the end of last season, like the amount of work that Omar and not Edson so much, but he doesn't. I mean, he's also like not that dude, but Omar tracking back became a theme last season because he was doing a lot of defending.
Omar was basically a wing back at a lot of points, like just doing both.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think out on the left it could be. I mean, we know that Saeed can play out there, so that could be an option. And then I'd say the maybe less traditional option could be Alexi.
True.
because I do like the idea of him just delivering.
Those crosses in.
Well, him just cutting in and just curling them top bins, just
That R1.
Philippe Coutinho style, but
R1.
yeah, hold R1, timed finish, but that brings us to the 10.
Dylan Mahrez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a race between Mahrez and Bassetti. in all honesty, and it comes back in when we talk about the diamond, because the 10 is obviously kind of it's literally the tip of the diamond, like the focal point. And so I think that's going to be a competition all season long.
Yeah.
Or finding a way to get them both in the team, and that's because I think that's also an option.
Yeah.
So out on the right of that attacking trio,
Omar Salgado on his left foot for me.
Omar's got a couple of preseason goals as well. I do always like to see him get on the score sheet because I think he's a confidence player.
Indeed.
So I think it's nice for him to carry a little bit of momentum into the season. Plus, starting the season not being expected to be the number 9.
Right. Not being like hashtag hometown hero and all that shit. Yeah. That was a lot. That was extra.
Yeah. I think we see a lot more production for that reason. He still had 7 assists last year, so like not a bad return by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all.
I kind of regret putting Omar on the left side. I'm going to switch Omar to the right side, and I think I'm going to go with you, Phil, as well, putting Bassetti on the left side.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I think. They could play either side too, because
Yeah.
Bassetti can like whip a cross in as well. Like, dude's got delivery for sure. His right foot is like magic. So, yeah, I think we've got options on the wing, but we definitely have like less traditional wingers than what we normally expect, and especially coming off like having Edson last season. Like, he was a very, very much like the guy like hug the touchline
Right.
and whip in across with your left foot. Like,
Right. Byline winger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which those aren't even really too common at the highest levels anymore.
Right. Yeah, very rare. Aaron Lennon, pace merchant, like no end product.
Theo Walcott, but
Navas.
worse.
Jesus Navas.
Jesus Navas. Oh my God. He's still at Sevilla.
Yeah. He plays fullback now, I think.
Yes, he does.
Which is actually like such a good career move, but a topic for a different podcast, I guess. Okay, so 4-4-2 diamond. Really, the defense is the same because it's the same back five,
Yeah.
including the keeper. So, defensive mid is the first, really in the midfield. So I mean, we talked about a midfield 2. In this case, it's really a midfield 3, as you would see in like a 4-3-3, but a defensive mid and two kind of central midfielders. Do you keep the same people and just add somebody if it's a 3? So you said Richie and Distel. Do you change anyone?
Yeah, so
if it's a 3?
I'd have Richie at the base of the diamond, Ross and Zola kind of in those half spaces,
Yeah,
and then Mahrez at the 10,
right. I
I think, and then Bassetti Lomi's strike partnership.
Okay.
So Mahrez is the enganche.
So that midfield for you starting, so defensive midfielder, 2 central mids, and a 10.
Yeah.
Who's that for you?
How are they going to line up? It's
Like a defensive mid, because I think it's Richie. Like, if he's healthy,
Yeah.
he's that dude.
yeah, you have to go with Richard.
Yeah. So then the two guys in front of him, who kind of, as Mikka was saying, like, when we say like occupy the half space, is basically like taking up, like clogging up those midfield passing lanes for the opposition, as well as like opening up different passing angles for our own players, and especially being that first kind of outlet for Richie as he receives the ball from defense, and him being able to turn around and find either, in Mika's setup, it's a looking and finding Distel or Nick and kind of really advancing the ball into the attacking phase of play.
I suppose the only problem I might have with Richie as like the lone pivot is that I don't know if they're gonna just like hoof it to any Volton and target him because Richie's not tall.
Right.
I was thinking Yuma to put back there.
I think
Richie.
I don't like Yuma by himself.
Yeah.
I like Yuma in a double pivot just because, well, also Yuma's discipline can be an issue sometimes, and when you're the only midfielder back there dropping, like there's
so I think,
you're gonna be flying into some challenges.
I think the way that OC for me will likely try to defeat the way that Locomotive plays is like, because obviously we try to press, we try to possess the ball a lot. So the easiest way to defeat that is once you win it, get it up the pitch as quickly as possible.
Right.
So I think that Inny Volton will likely sit on one of our center backs, whoever he thinks he can get the most joy from, and try to win that first ball and play it to, Quinn or Darwin Jones or whoever else is like up in support. He like wins that first header and then it's, 2 passes and you're in the box or whatever. But I think he'll be tracked most likely on those. I don't think he'll be able to really single Richie out. I think he'll have to pick either Mishak or Chiro, which he'll probably pick Mishak, but Mishak's his own physical he's just not as tall as Chiro.
Sure. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
But I don't know if they'll allow Richie to get singled out in that type of matchup, because I think they'll just probably push the center back up to him.
Or let him drop between them.
Well, and we do like to play. I don't know if you saw or if it was evident in the New Mexico match, but we were playing like a much higher line this year.
yes,
much higher,
like at midfield.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting, because I think I like it because I think it forces teams to be a little less, or to be a little bit more creative, because it's not. You can't just hoof it like in behind. It's not really an option, but it's also reliant, because it's you're trying to catch people offside, and it's reliant on USL refs.
Like good officiating. Yeah, that's the problem with the offside trap. I guess maybe in the age of VAR it's a bit different, but
VAR would be.
We are not there.
The VAR defense, it would be fine, but yeah. So that midfield three for you, defensive mid and those 2 central midfielders. Who's that for you, Austin?
Definitely Distel. Well, you see, I would have to go with Ross too, as I can't really think of anybody else to put in there, really.
I think
because I don't think right now. I mean, you guys have said Chapa really kind of went off the preseason a bit, but just I haven't seen it to be able to. To give me the confidence to put him in there.
Yeah, well, and I still think that Chapa is very useful coming on against tired legs.
Yeah.
And that's there are world-class players who that's their role, is to come on.
Sub.
So, yeah. So.
No, and I think that's going to continue. Chapa obviously has grown a lot, I think, over the last year. And he played like 20 games for us last season, but I don't know if he's quite at the level where he's ready to start 34 games, because that is the level that the midfield that we're looking at is literally. I mean, Richie, until he literally had a broken bone before he left, the only games he missed were for red cards, or yellow card accumulation or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I think Distel and Nick are probably first choice in those spots. And then so the 10, you said Mahrez, and then Bassetti and Lomas starting up top.
Yes.
Little bit of a controversial choice with Aron Gomez.
But Aron can come on too.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. I'm saying controversial in the eyes of Locos Nation.
Oh yeah, true.
The Peps.
I mean,
The Peps.
but the idea that strike partnership and that number 10, there are quite a few people like vying for really just 3 spots. It's those 6 guys in a diamond, really 6 players for 3 spots. I mean,
our midfield is stacked.
Yeah.
It's thick. Double C.
Yeah. And I think the one player who hasn't been thrown out yet, who is 100% in with a chance of starting is Fabrice.
Yeah. And I kind of had that shout in the back of my mind, like maybe not throwing Mishak right in and seeing if Fabrice can do a job at center back, but I think he's gonna get a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I think we may see him, and potentially if Mark sees the physicality of OC being a problem, Fabrice being inserted into that midfield and playing kind of it would be a slightly different type of midfield than a standard diamond, but playing 2 more defensive-minded midfielders and really 1 kind of progressive, and so you've got like maybe Distel ahead of Richie and Fabrice, and then Fabrice is kind of playing like more of a destroyer role depending on what OC's like able to do. So yeah, I think it's really interesting because our midfield does provide Mark with a lot of options. But it's
a good problem to have.
Yeah. And I think attack is where it gets dicey. I think for me, I think Mahrez, the way that he's obviously been involved a lot in the preseason. He's been here the whole preseason. I think he starts because he's clearly a player that Mark has admired from afar up till now because he's played against Mark up till now. But I think Mahrez is certainly, based on the goals that he scored in preseason, he's clearly been involved with, and been playing like a decent amount of minutes to be able to grab the goals. I think the dilemma for Mark is just like if it's Mahrez or if it's Bassetti playing in the 10, or if he starts Bassetti in a striking role. I think there are a lot of different options. We know that we got the best out of Omar when he plays wide, but if you play him as a striker, he was less effective last season. But if you play a diamond, there are no wide attackers. So, there's a lot of different permutations that come into this that could really change the look of the team just by putting one different player in there. That's like, so obviously I think it'll become apparent fairly quickly early in the season, like who Mark trusts and the most and what combination is getting the most joy. But in this first one, I think we can probably bet that Mark will go slightly more conservative in his team selection than what he was towards the end of last season, where there were times he was just chucking on like 5 forwards and like, let's go get a goal or whatever. Like, I think towards the end of the Tulsa game on Noche de Locos, there was like 6 strikers on the field. Like we were playing like 0-4-6 basically. So the starting 11 still completely kind of up in the air. We'll see what Mark goes for on Friday night. And I know this is completely unfair of me to ask you, but this is what we do here. So I need a score prediction.
Is anything at Seriously Loco fair?
No, it's not. So, I mean, score predictions for OC versus Locomotive. What are we feeling for Friday night?
I am going to go with a 2-2 draw.
Interesting.
I think there will be goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent up and down both of these sides. Yeah.
I may not ask for goal scorers, but I'm going to ask who scores the first Locomotive goal of the season.
Bassetti. Yeah.
So we get a 2-2 draw in OC. Bassetti, first goal of the season for the second season Locos. Austin.
I'm going to go same amount of goals, but I'm going to go 3-1 Locomotive.
Going
Cheers.
optimistic. Optimistic.
Honestly, just because of knowing what we have there, and then knowing that we're getting a vital part of our defense back.
Yeah.
Just thinking we can stop their attack too. First goal scorer of the season. I'm gonna go with that one.
I think it is really tough because I mean literally all of the reasons that we just said that we have no idea like how everybody's going to line up or how they're going to play.
Scenes when Mark picks 3 at the back.
Yeah, it goes 3-5-2 and just completely shatters everything we talked about.
We could go 3-5-2 with the players we have, but that would just be so bizarre.
Yeah, Fox and Rebellon as wingbacks, rather than.
Oh my
I
god!
think that actually wouldn't be a bad idea.
Or Omar on the right as a wingback, or on the left as a wingback. I don't know.
Omar Traore.
Yeah. No, I think a draw. I think a draw is the most likely outcome. We know beginning of last season, like that, we literally drew on the road like our first 6 games on the road or something like that, like something ridiculous. Like we hadn't lost a game on the road, but we also hadn't won a game on the road. So I think our team has certainly improved, but I think OC has as well. So I'll go for the boring and hope that I'm like jinxing more goals into happening, but I'll go for the 1-1. For some reason, it just strikes me as the type of game where probably the first like half hour, I think it I know this is kind of a cop out or stupid or whatever, but it can really go one of two ways, where the first half hour could either be very, very cagey and very much like both teams trying to kind of feel each other out, or it could be just a complete mess. Like it could just be like they go out there and everybody's just so like amped up that it's like just all over the place and it's like 3-3 by halftime.
It's like those guys on Sunday League who drink a little bit too much with the pre-workout before the game.
So
it's all over the place.
So yeah, I'll go for the 1-1. I'll say that Mahrez continues his goal scoring form from preseason and gets one.
I like it.
Gets one arriving late into the area. Just the Mikka goal.
Hell yeah, the Aaron Ramsey special.
Yeah. It is. Gosh, we are literally like 48 hours from this happening.
It's
like,
weird that it's
right
a
now.
Friday match.
Yeah. That's the last. How about we'll close with this? This match, and this is something that I've been thinking about. This match is really the kickoff event of the USL season. It's the first match being played in the league.
Really?
Yeah.
By two sides who are very good sides that don't get a lot of attention.
Right. So, I mean, how much do you think that the league has kind of dropped the ball a little bit in making this more of a like marquee event almost? Like kind of this, we talked about a curtain raiser in the past of having like a Super Cup and stuff like that, ways to make the beginning of the season a little more marketable and interesting. But I mean, they have a marketable, interesting matchup like already. They've kind of gone all in on San Diego Vegas on Saturday as being the marquee matchup, and I get it. It's Donovan versus Winalda and all this stuff, but have they kind of just, I don't know. They made it a Friday. It is the first USL match of the season. It seems like it should be a little bit more of an event.
I don't even know anymore.
I didn't even think about it.
I mean, I understand why they're making the Donovan versus Wijnaldum their thing. I mean, new club in San Diego Loyal versus the most gimmicky club in the West. I mean, the marketing kind of just like does itself for that. So, Yeah, I don't know. Orange County and ourselves are two teams that we were table rivals in the table last season.
Yeah.
Both very good sides. Both had good off seasons. These two clubs are just about their business, I guess, and that's not so interesting. So
well, as we found out with our off season, the thing that got the most attention was the thing that made the most noise, not necessarily the thing that was the most like the best piece of business or anything.
Right, exactly.
But it is the kickoff of the USL season. We are getting underway. As we said, scarves are for sale, so make sure you get an order in. We got an order in while we were recording this.
Okay.
So
and I'll just clarify for some people, there's a little bit of confusion. This is one scarf.
Yeah.
The blue side and the yellow side are two sides of one scarf.
Yeah.
So we're not balling like that yet, where we've got like multiple like Las Vegas Lights status, all these different designs.
17 scarf designs.
One for each home game. Yeah, they are one scarf, guys. So if you like one side, you will also get the other.
Yes.
I think we should tweet that out.
Yeah, we'll clarify online. But yeah, so lots happening this week. Be sure to tune in to the live stream on Sportscaster. That'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be me, Austin, and Christian doing that one. Mika's volunteered to do the like clerical work.
Yeah, I'll be doing all the admin. Get at me.
Unfortunately, but the good news is that you can still hang out with Mika while the game is going on.
Please do.
And you can buy scarves from her. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win basically. And so we'll be down at Whiskey Blonde on Friday with Eighth Notch. Should be a blast. I'm really excited to hang out with all the lads and ladies down there at Whiskey Blonde. Always a good time. So hopeful of a big result to start the season off. We will see how Locomotive does, but I hope you guys will join us for the ride this second season. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks, as always, to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, who we just used for this scarf design. The official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Thanks as well to Icarus FC for sponsoring this podcast. Are you tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Are you looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. If you've enjoyed, you can find us on all your podcast platforms that you could possibly want. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and if you want all the USL memes and bants and all the, but also with some statistical analysis thrown in for good measure, you can follow us at Seriously Loco on Twitter, on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. So you can find us any of those places, and interact. We always love to answer listener questions. We didn't get a chance to do listener questions today because kind of a packed agenda already, but we will be back all season talking about listener questions. And so with all of that, I hope to see you guys Friday, and until then, stay local.